The officer has rich experience of serving in all types of workshops that undertake MRO in the Indian Army. The officer has specialized in armored vehicles engineering. He has experience in quality assurance of armored vehicles and high mobility vehicles. Currently, he is posted as Joint Controller in one of the DGQA establishments in Avadi, Chennai. And he is going to speak on MOD schemes, testing infrastructure with DGQA for defense manufacturers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues on the dais, and officials from the industry, government bodies, and academia. Conforming a product to a quality, that is, whether a product that is being manufactured meets the quality requirements or not, is an important aspect before the product can be handed over to the armed forces for usage or exploitation. So, as a rep of a customer, there is this organization called Directorate General of Quality Assurance, which is under the Department of Defense Production in the Ministry of Defense, who are responsible for formulating the policies regarding defense production in our country. So, I am representing Directorate General of Quality Assurance. This Directorate General of Quality Assurance looks after the land systems predominantly. When I say land systems, means the equipments that are mostly used by the Indian Army. While there is a separate quality assurance organization for the air systems, and we have even naval quality assurance establishments also with us, but for a very limited scale of products. So that is what is about Directorate General of Quality Assurance. Now this we have been hearing, and it's a positive step that the government has taken to encourage more private participation in the defense production. Vocal for local, negative import list, wherein there are 310 items, wherein the ministry has said that no more import, it has to be done indigenously. So these are some of the initiatives that have been brought out by the government in order to create an environment wherein it becomes feasible for our own countrymen, be it the MSMEs or the large scale industries or even the startups also, to find a solution to the requirements of the armed forces. Just to give you a very brief about how we have progressed as far as the overall defense production is concerned. Atmanirbhar Bharat, we have heard about it, basically to provide an impetus to realize the goal of self-reliance. Now, production policies, many policies have come up in the recent past, and the aim is to stimulus the demand for indigenous products, so that the industry is also given an assurance that yes, we are as an armed forces looking for products to be manufactured by our own countrymen for the needs of our armed forces, and once it gets validated by our armed forces, so with the thrust on the export that is happening now, so there are opportunities for export as well. And 3 positive lists of indigenization comprising of 310 platforms have been notified, which gives a great opportunity for the industry to pitch in to offer products which meets the requirement. When we say it meets the requirement, it may not be one-to-one identical with the product that is already being used, but maybe it can be of a different technology, but it is a reliable product and maybe of a latest technology but meets the requirement. So even that is also feasible. It's not a one-to-one match of something which we have say procured about 30 years back or 40 years back. If the technology has grown and if there is something better product in place that can substitute it, maybe that can also be considered. And arms export, you can see there has been a 119% growth rate. Now maybe one can understand from the fact that this export may be by the large scale industries, but the large scale industries on their own doesn't do it. So the MSMEs are also involved in it when they give in their subsystems or components when actually the export grows. So this is a very major area where the government has got its focus on, having had a control over the indigenous production. And last, most important, that the share of the private sector has steadily grown over the past few years. That is something which there is something to cheer about when we look at the private sector participation in the defense manufacturing. And we are looking at a turnover of 1,75,000 crores, and out of which 35,000 is the export target that has been given. So there lies a lot of stress. Now I would just like to also add on that just about few months back, the Ministry of Defence has instructed the defence attaches. Like our country has got its presence of the officers from the armed forces as defence attaches in many countries in the world. Like we have ambassadors or we have embassies. So in the embassy we have a defence attache as well, our country. One of the responsibilities that has been assigned to the defence attaches in the recent past is that they should also be able to generate business for our manufacturers, wherein some sort of an aid is being given to them, some sort of funding is being given to the defence attaches for them to market about the products being manufactured by our Indian defence manufacturers for our country, which can be used for exporting to their countries. So this is a welcome step wherein the defence attaches have been roped in to propagate this aspect as well. So this is one good positive step maybe in order to realize the target of about 35,000 crores that we are looking at. And a dynamic and robust and competitive defence industry is what is the need of the hour. Now we are trying to have a common platform wherein besides the defence public sector undertakings, there are even private industries are also allowed to participate so as to give a level playing field in the procurements is concerned. Reduce dependence on the imports, that is what has been the thrust of the present dispensation. And after having gained a foothold in as far as indigenous manufacturing is concerned, now we are also trying to see as to how much can we export as well. And now even there has been a great step taken by the DRDO organizations also, which has got the wealth of information in order to partner with the academia and the private industry for developing certain products which were erstwhile restricted to sharing of the transfer of technology with the defence public sector undertakes only. So here also there is an opportunity wherein the defence research and development organizations are also foraying into it. And I suppose there is a talk about the representative from the DRDO as well. So maybe more details will come up during that lecture. So amidst all this, Department of Defence Production has carried out from the quality perspective. They have formulated these schemes so as to provide facilities to the manufacturers so that they can take on certain roles and responsibilities on their own with reference to certifying the quality of the product is concerned. So therefore we have these policies and they have been implemented. We are seeing good progress and we hope to see much more coming up in the near future as well. Initial days are challenging, like some of us do face failures when we initially develop a product or whatever it is, but then once we start, then we don't look back and we are propagating these policies on behalf of the Ministry of Defence, Department of Defence Production, so that the manufacturers can avail the benefits of these policies as well. So first I will cover the Green Channel policy. It was basically to promote the ease of doing business. Now what we have done is that to make the manufacturers accountable for the quality of their products. Like as I said, DGQA is an organization which carries out the quality assurance of the stores manufactured by the manufacturers and to be used by the armed forces. Now in this case, we are doing something called as wherein the manufacturers become self-accountable. Now if you recollect, this green channel is something akin to what we have in an airport, wherein you need not always have to pass through the customs or whatever it is. You go through a green channel wherein you have certified what is there with you when you come from abroad into the country. So if there is an audit or something of that kind, that's a different issue. But then the thing is that you certify that this is what it is, and then nobody is going to stop you from checking whatever it is so long as you meet the criteria as concerned. So therefore, this policy lays down the criteria wherein the manufacturer becomes responsible. The primary eligibility criteria for this is that the firm should have a tenure of about rupees 500 crores. There is a different policy for the MSMEs as well, similar to this, but this is for mainly those who come under the large scale enterprises category, wherein they should have annual turnover of rupees 500 crores or more, and only applicable for Indian firms and public sector undertakings, certain foreign firms also who have got manufacturing facilities in India, OEMs who may be outsourcing their product but then selling it on their own brand name, even they are also eligible for it. And I just wish to tell you that even the FDI in the defense has also been increased recently to about 78%. Earlier it was, a cap was laid down at 49%. The government has recently done that as well. So that to bring in the technology to our country so that we are able to manufacture it to meet the needs of our armed forces while we also become an exporter of the equipment as well. So assessment will be done by a committee wherein there will be an additional director general who will be chairing it. We will have representatives from the users, that is the armed forces who actually use this equipment, and we have from the DGQA as well. Registration fee is rupees 1 lakh plus GST, and 5 years, once it is granted 5 years, you need not have to offer the products to DGQA for quality assurance. Whenever the supply orders are placed, you supply them directly to the Indian Army. And there is an irrevocable bank guarantee of rupees 50 lakhs that needs to be given, basically to look into, it is like a performance bank guarantee kind of a thing for ensuring the quality of the product. In case if any defect or whatever occurs, then maybe this performance bank guarantee will be revoked. So this is what it is. Validity, as I said, it is for 5 years from the date of issue. And subsequent renewal will be done based on customer satisfactory feedback of the products that the manufacturer has supplied to the Indian Army over the past 5 years, wherein if there are no customer complaints or whatsoever is concerned, so therefore that company will be automatically considered for the renewal. Customers complaint, there is a mechanism that has been in place in the Indian Army, so all customer complaints shall be brought to the notice of the committee, and based on the analysis of it, there can be penal action also, and in extreme cases maybe the removal of the company status from the green channel can also be done. So far we have never come across this case so far with the number of firms that have already been granted green channel. This is basically just to ensure that there are systems in place in case if something goes wrong, that is it. But God willing, I don't think anybody would like to willingly going for something wrong or some poor quality is concerned. And for any other technical assistance during defect investigation, because we have the knowledge about the equipment and all those things is concerned, so therefore our assistance can also be sought, because we always carry out the defect investigation whenever the customer raises a complaint in association with the manufacturer of that equipment. So till date 27 firms have been granted green channel status, so therefore this is a positive step that you can see, and many more, maybe not a lot of them might be coming under the large scale industries category whose turnover is above 500 crores, but yes, there are industries who have come forward, and likewise we have granted it for about 27 firms till now. Now the next scheme that I touch upon is the self-certification scheme. This is also a scheme wherein, if you concentrate on the third bullet, it encourages the manufacturers to assume direct responsibility to sustain and improve the standard of quality. So basically, this is a scheme which I said makes the manufacturer responsible for the quality. This is more suitable for the MSMEs and those whose turnover is less than 500 crores. The validity is for 3 years in this particular case, and there is no performance guarantee for this. So therefore, that is what is the main difference when we compare it with the earlier scheme that I have shown. So basically, the companies or the manufacturers should have a better quality management system, so that there is a record of traceability whenever you need to go back. If in case we come across a customer complaint, there will be certain periodical audits during the course of this 3 years by the DGQA, wherein they will visit your premises to check for whether the quality management system is followed with reference to ascertaining the quality of the product is concerned. So eligibility, again, all defense public sector undertakings as well as private manufacturers are eligible for it. So there is a vendor rating wherein the vendor rating determines the quality of the stores, and one of the major aspects of vendor rating is whether it meets the requirement of the customer, whether there are any customer complaints or not. So therefore there is a well laid down procedure for it. It is all taken from the Indian standard 12040, which is applicable to all industries who follow that IS standard for their sub-vendors, so as to ensure that the rating is consistently maintained. That is the catchword for all this. They should have a quality management system beyond ISO 9001 as well, wherein some of the industries do have other quality management system standards as well. And the laboratories, whatever are there with the manufacturers, should preferably be NABL accredited. So that's a mandatory requirement, so that whatever testing that you do it in accordance to a procedure. So therefore, and that procedure stipulates that yes, you are following some sort of a standard procedure which determines the quality of the product. And self-certificate status is awarded for product. When I say product specific means like there may be 10 subcomponents or 50 subcomponents of a particular assembly. You may be supplying probably a subcomponent for a main weapon system. So these will be all product specific. It will not be on a blanket platform kind of a thing. So basically these are all for those manufacturers who are already suppliers of the equipment to the Indian Armed Forces, wherein the past supplies will be taken into consideration to see whether there are any problems with reference to the quality or not. Based on that, the assessment is carried out and the self-certification status is awarded to them. And this is what is the process. Firstly, the firm should have been, the manufacturer should be registered. Once he gets, when he registers, he has to supply the data with reference to the supplier rating and whether he has received any adverse feedback of the product from the customer, and the process capability should be equal to or greater than 1.33. This is what is the major eligibility criteria. Thereafter then, when the application is submitted, we come for an assessment. We just prepare our own questionnaire, which is given in the document which I had shared with you, the scheme document which is there. And the questionnaire is self-explanatory. You need to ensure that you are able to have evidence for each of the questions that are there, because the marks will be given in account. So therefore, it is all structured. There is no ambiguity in what will be the criteria for the assessment part of it. And thereafter, once it meets the requirement, then the self-certification status is granted. And the validity in this case is 3 years, and it can be revoked in case if there is any adverse feedback on the quality of the product. And renewal is also done 90 days prior to the expiry. The private manufacturer or the DPSU applies for renewal. We then carry out the details with reference to the past supply orders and whether there are any issues or anything associated with that. So the conditions are given in the last bullet. Consistent supplier rating of at least 90%, no adverse feedback from the customer, and if in case there is anything adverse, performance noticed in the stores during the warranty period as well. So these are some of the benchmarks, and 17 firms have been granted self-certification status till date. So we are encouraging the manufacturers to come forward to go in for the self-certification status. DPSUs have all come forward. Now it is some of the private manufacturers have also come forward who have a limited product range but have got system in place to ensure the quality of the product. So we are there to facilitate it, and any queries related to this, we will be more than happy to help you in order to migrate towards self-certification. This is allotment and utilization of proof and field firing ranges. Now this is mostly applicable for those, they were until now there was very tight, I would call it, licensing, grant of license to manufacturers, private manufacturers who wish to manufacture arms and ammunition. But with the growth in the private industry and the partnership that the private manufacturers have been having with some of the manufacturers in the world who have got expertise on this, so now the private manufacturers felt the need that we should also be given accessible to the proof ranges. Until now we were having these ranges, but mostly the product profile was all coming from the erstwhile ordnance factories who are now the DPSU. So therefore they didn't have any problem. These ranges were meant for that. We were operating the ranges and we were doing the quality assurance. So when the private industry started coming in and they started applying for the they have started applying for license to manufacture the arms and ammunition is concerned, because that's a very controlled item in our country and it's not easily available in the market. So therefore, then the ministry came up with this particular scheme. Now, what does it mean? Now, for any R&D to be undertaken in the arms and ammunition is concerned, like you may come up with nanomaterial, light weapons, ammunitions manufactured with a different technology, but has got the same lethal effect and all those things, but these all need to be tested. So therefore, it was inhibiting the private manufacturers from going in for an R&D. It is not that the weapons, whatever were there 30 years back, is the one which we want to get it manufactured now as well. The technology has changed, much better materials have come with lightweight and all those things. So therefore, to enable the private industry to carry out R&D, this scheme has come up. So they can do manufacture, they can do testing, while they can even do the R&D also to come out with a better product profile to the armed forces. So there are two categories in which the allotment can be done. One is that the organizations, DGQA, that is we, DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization, and the erstwhile Ordnance Factory Board have got proof ranges. So these ranges are available. Besides that, there are service field firing ranges which are held with the Indian Army. Indian Army has also got their firing ranges wherein the troops go periodically once in a year or whatever it is to carry out their practice of firing. So even those ranges also will be made available to the private industry to carry out their activities. So now, where are the ranges located? If you look at it, DGQA has got two ranges in Madhya Pradesh, one in Itarsi and one in Kamaria, which is closer to Jabalpur. DRDO has got two ranges, one in Balasore, from where mostly missiles and all those things get fired from there. There's one in Chandigarh as well, Terminal Ballistic Research Laboratory. Besides that, the third bullet, whatever ranges that you see, are all with the erstwhile ordnance factories. So now, these have also come under the ambit of the allotment of proof ranges. For all this, we in DGQA do the coordination part of it. So you need to apply to us, and then the range will be allotted wherever it is available, so that the manufacturer can carry out their own R&D or testing capability. Field firing ranges also, the address where they can be approached is there. That will be facilitating in case if any of the ranges available with us or DRDO is not available, then maybe we will be approaching them as well, so that the ranges are made available to the manufacturer and there isn't any delay in as far as testing their product is concerned. Overall coordination, as I said, is being done by us, and this is what is the email ID. You can just drop in your email. We'll be more than happy to help you or assist you or guide you so that you realize your aim of testing a product and then supplying it to the armed forces. Now, this is another scheme which has come up with a very great deliberations at the ministry after having interacted with the industry bodies in our country, be it FICCI or CII and many such bodies which are there. This scheme has come in along with the defense industrial corridors, basically to synchronize both these activities. Like there was a talk in the morning session as well, in the pre-lunch session, with reference to the defense industrial corridor is concerned, and wherein Tamil Nadu is also one of the area where some five locations have been identified where they intend to come out with a formidable ecosystem for products for the Indian armed forces. So therefore, there was felt a need for even building up in testing infrastructure also, so that the manufacturers do not have to go to faraway places to get their products tested. And even for MSMEs also, it might be a little difficult to establish their own test facilities. So therefore, the government wanted to provide some sort of a aid, so that they can go in for this kind of a thing. So basically, it is going to assess the startups and also the MSMEs also towards having an indigenous product for our armed forces, and then the setting up of basically the main aim is, if you look at the third bullet, easy access and meet the testing needs of the domestic defense industry. That is the catchword. So towards this, what the government has done. Okay, the areas that have been identified for establishing the test facilities are these. These have been after having extensive rounds of discussion with the industry bodies, so as to see as to okay, what is their focus, and therefore the policy is made so that it meets their requirement. This is not done in isolation, it is basically considering the need of the industry bodies that these areas have been identified where there is a necessity to have a test facility. Now, the test facilities, there is the 6 to 8 test facilities is what has been planned by the MOD to be set up, with a grant in aid of not exceeding rupees 400 crores, and the breakup of the 8 facilities is what has been given here. 3 in small range categories, 3 in the medium categories as per the cost estimated shown there, and 2 in the large scale categories with the kind of investment that has been shown. So the scheme will run until 2025, and hopefully we intend to come out with some sort of a testing infrastructure facility in maybe closer to those locations where the defense industrial corridors are planned to come up in a big way. That is one in the south and one in the north. That is the UP corridor is what one mostly refers to. Now, all these things will be done through a special purpose vehicle. This point was also raised by one of the speakers during the inaugural session as well, by the speaker from TIDCO. They are now facilitating in forming up some sort of a special purpose vehicles to come out with these test facilities. 25% of the project cost is what will have to be borne by the special purpose vehicles, while the balance 75 will be in the form of a budgetary support as a one-time grant in aid. So they will be self-sustaining, wherein the charges collected will be used for sustaining the test facility and then for their own growth as well. And products will be certified accordingly. And as I said, it's coming up near the areas where the defense industrial corridors have been planned to. Now the progress so far. Last month, around 15th of August, we had the announcement that one facility for unmanned aerial system is going to come up near Sri Perumbudur here. That is the first project that has got the approval of the MOD, wherein TIDCO is playing a major role in that. And so this is going to come up, and this has already been approved as well, sanctioned. There is one RFP issued by the UP state corridor as well for having the test facilities for this. Similarly, the request for proposals have been issued in the balance 4 cases, and their bids, as per what I could see from the website, they are likely to be submitted by this month in September, wherein the concerned consortium will be identified for setting up of these test facilities. So things are happening, and these are only to aid the manufacturers so that they can come out with a quality product while having better infrastructure for testing as well, so that all the testing can happen in one roof and the certification can be obtained accordingly. Out of these 2 RFPs are issued by TIDCO, while the balance 2 are by the Defense Industrial Corridor of Uttar Pradesh. Defense Export Promotion Scheme. Now, any product that the Indian Armed Forces procure, most of you or maybe few of you must be aware of the fact that the cycle of the complete acquisition process that happens. One of the, our country has got varied terrain conditions. We have got plains, we have coastal conditions as well, we have mountainous conditions, and we have high altitude conditions as well, wherein we operate equipment in altitudes of 4,000 meters above. So therefore, we look towards an equipment which meets the requirement of operating in all these environmental conditions. So when we do this, more than one manufacturer participates in the bid, and based on the procurement process, one of the manufacturers gets selected as an L1 vendor, while the balance manufacturers may not have been successful, but they would have passed the trials, means their product is also meeting the requirements of the armed forces as far as the qualitative requirements is concerned, or I would call it detailed specifications is concerned. So therefore, since it has met the requirement of the Indian Armed Forces, so therefore the MOD had come up with this scheme that okay, those manufacturers who had developed a prototype or whatever it is to get validated for the tough conditions that our country has as far as operating an equipment is concerned, they said okay, we will give a certificate, that is the Ministry of Defence will give a certificate to that manufacturer, which the manufacturer can use it while showing it to the other countries who are interested in buying that product. So that is why we have got this scheme under two categories. One, fit for Indian military use, means these are based on the specs that were drawn by the Indian Army or the Indian Armed Forces. The second option is wherein we do the testing as per the manufacturer specification. Means you may not be manufacturing a product for Indian Armed Forces, maybe Indian Armed Forces doesn't require it, but you feel that this product may be required for some other countries in the world, but you want to get it tested so that you have a stamp of approval of having got the product tested by a competent or a government designated testing agency. So you can come up with this second option. Specs will be yours. Testing standards will be formulated in consultation with the manufacturer. We carry out the testing and a certificate will be given, which is a valid certificate which other countries will not have any problem in accepting the certification of your product. So I hope I am very clear with these two options that is there. So basically it is granted to prospective Indian exporters, manufacturers. There have been some queries, maybe probably when we have further growth and other things, the option 2 will start get exercised. So and it is and let me tell you, it is given by the Government of India, Ministry of Defence. So it is not by any independent testing agency or whatever it is, wherein the question of the validity and all those things can be raised by the country to whom it is being exported to. So therefore it is given by the government and we are interested to give it on behalf of the Ministry of Defence to the prospective manufacturers who apply for such kind of certification. And based on that, they can utilize that certification to whichever country they feel so. There is no embargo or restrictions on that, unless until the government gives any policy as far as not exporting to certain countries is concerned. That's a different issue, but that's a government policy. But predominantly, this option is available for most of the countries. And certification is granted for a particular product. Like as I said, this is the second category. See, certification may be for a product which may not be required by Indian Armed Forces, but the manufacturer, Indian defence manufacturer, has got the capacity to produce a world-class quality equipment which may be of use by the countries, by the armies in the other friendly foreign countries. So testing infrastructure will be made available, the product will be tested, and then the certificate will be given that it meets this specification. Now the sanctity of the specification remains, and with that specification and the certificate you can sell your product. Last bullet is the most important. It is done based on the qualitative requirements provided by the manufacturer. We will not be imposing anything that it should meet this standard or that standard. That is entirely up to the private manufacturer, because he might be targeting a country wherein the level of ruggedness or level of exploitation of the equipment may not be that high like what we use in our country, wherein we use it in the extreme conditions of heat and the extreme conditions of cold and reduced atmospheric pressure conditions are concerned. Now the following 5 companies have already exercised the option 1 because they had fielded some equipment as part of trials to the Indian Armed Forces. They could not get the contract because they were not they could not become the L1 vendor, but they have passed the trials and Indian Army has certified that it meets the requirement. So on that basis they have come forward, and some of them are in the process of exporting it as well to the other countries, stating that it meets the requirement of the Indian Armed Forces, because there is a certain amount of ruggedness that is associated when you sell a product which is for use by the defense forces. Like all along, if you look at it, that is why sometimes we don't go in for a commercial grade products. It is because of the fact that we look for ruggedization, and wherein there is some extra effort that needs to be put in to ensure the ruggedization part of it. So with that word of ruggedization and the reliability, So I am sure the manufacturers understand the implications of it in order to reap the benefits when they have to supply a similar product to any other country in the world for their military use. Third party inspection, basically with now DGQA, DGAQA, these organizations had come up when we had an ecosystem consisting of DPSUs and few private manufacturers, but now that there are more, the budget is also increasing, there are more private manufacturers who are coming into, so considering all these things, the ministry had come up with this thing that in order to meet the demands, so okay, why not we identify certain agencies who can carry out the inspection of the end product manufactured by the defense manufacturers, and based on their clearance or certification, the product can be supplied to the user, that is the Indian Army. So it is basically to augment the resources of whatever is there with the DGQA or the DGAQA. So these third party inspection agencies can be utilized. Like this culture is already there with some of the manufacturers, wherein they utilize the expertise of some inspecting agency to carry out the inspection on their behalf, so that they carry out it and then they certify whether it meets the requirement or not. So since we have industries to that effect, so therefore this scheme was also brought out. What is it that they will have to do? They have to assess the capacity, and input material checks can be undertaken, process audits also can be carried out, quality audits is also in their charter, and they will also do some sort of quality control by ascertaining the adequacy of the jigs and fixtures that are there. So these are all the scope of work for which the third party inspection agencies can be used by the procuring agencies of the government of the Ministry of Defence for inspecting their products. So conduct of proof testing of armament stores can also be witnessed by them, subject to the condition that they evidence the capability to do so, and they will also assist in defect investigation in consultation with the OEM and arriving at the root cause. That's also more important. Eligibility criteria, they should be accredited by QCI for QMS. ISO 17021 was also insisted upon, but now it's not being insisted upon. Earlier in the scheme document this was mandatory, but now this is not a mandatory one. And they should be accredited for conformity assessment requirements in accordance to ISO 17020. So they should be having this accredited certificate, and so therefore these are the two major things that is required for that firm to be eligible to carry out third party inspection. And all these requirements have been taken from the Quality Council of India. It's nothing that we have created anything stringent or something of that kind, but basically this is the practices that are being followed. Work experience should have minimum 5 years and at least 2 years of work in the relevant industry sector for which they are willing to. And if in case they have carried out TPA of similar such products in the past 3 years on behalf of any agency, it can be either a government one or it can be for a private entity as well. So a rate contract will be signed for 3 years, and we do the registration part of it, and then we share the details of the third party inspection agencies with the procurement agencies in the Indian Army, and it is up to them to enter into a contract with the third party inspection agency for inspecting the stores before they are received by them. So this is what it is, and all this I have already covered. Status, 7 firms have already been granted to be registered as third party inspection agencies for 5 years period, and rate contract for 9 items have already been signed, and they have currently been given the responsibility for carrying out inspection. So this has been a good beginning. So the procuring agencies which are there for the Indian Armed Forces can utilize the services of these third party inspection agencies, because we give a registration certificate to them, so their services can also be utilized by the private industry as well if they wish to, but this scheme was basically for the procuring agencies in the Indian Armed Forces to avail these things. I just touch upon this. Probably most of you must have heard about it at some point in time. It is Innovations for Defence Excellence. This was spoken to in the morning by the chief guest as well. He had highlighted this aspect. Now this is coming up in a very big way. Basically, to have an ecosystem, probably the left outs when we say left outs means that earlier we were concentrating mostly on DPSUs and all those major players, but now in order to give a boost to even startups as well, because it's difficult for a startup to come up with a product and then probably compete with such large scale enterprises as well, or even the medium scale enterprise as well. So this is a scheme that had come in wherein the problem statements are defined by the Indian Armed Forces. So they define the problem statement. I have a problem of not having a night visibility for so much distance will be the problem statement. Now the startups or academia can come up with their knowledge. Okay, this is the problem statement, fine, we can come out with a product which will meet your requirement. Then the discussions takes place, they evolve with the specifications, hand holding is always done, and then the product is realized, tested. So therefore that is why this kind, and there are challenges as well. Many have participated in these challenges, winners have been declared, and they have got the contracts as well. So this is something which is coming in a big way. So it is not that all procurements can only be handled by the large scale enterprise or the medium scale enterprises. So these are there for MSMEs and startups and individual innovators as well. So more than 2,200 plus startups responded to the 4 rounds of Defense India Startup Challenge. In fact, now there are I think round 6, 7, 8 and 9 is also there. There is something called as an open challenge also. IDEX, there is a website with the MOD, and you will come to know about all these things there in order to see what is the problem statement, so that you can select in case if any of those problem statements will meet the capability that the industry or the academia or even the startup or even the institutions have got the capability for. And the last bullet gives us the status. 39 contracts have been signed and prototypes are under development now. So first is the challenge phase wherein they identify that okay, who is capable, and then the contract is signed for development of prototypes or small quantities concerned, and then eventually they come up in a big way. So aid is also provided to a certain extent. This is now, after all this, we have this is an annual ritual for the Ministry of Defence wherein there is Raksha Mantri Awards. This is also now online, anybody can apply for it. Earlier it was like applications had to be forwarded, there were only select categories, but now the categories have been widened. As you look at it, categories are the awards is in 3 categories. One is for innovation and technological breakthrough, applicable for large, medium, small and startup entities. Indigenization, import substitution for, and the third one for exports is for large, medium and small scale enterprises. So anybody can apply for it. It is online application, it's very user friendly, you have to just upload whatever essential documents and all those things is concerned, and there's a proper committee that looks into all those things. Now, and the awards are presented during the Def Expo or the Aero India, which is an annual ritual event for the Ministry of Defence. The awards of the winners are presented in that forum. And for any further details from us, visit stall number 190 out here. And otherwise, for all the schemes that I have read out, the documents can be accessed with this website dgqadefense.gov.in, and you go, there is one MOD schemes kind of thing, you click onto that and then you can get all the scheme documents. So I have finished. There was just 1 minute. Sri Ramasubramanian, the founder of Swatandra, this thing had come up with a request for me that DGQA, we have a big setup in Avadi, Chennai, while we have a setup in Minambakam as well. So since commuting to Avadi was becoming an issue, probably for most of you, so therefore he has said that maybe we can have something out here. We'll surely consider your request, ma'am, and we have a DGQA organization facility in Minambakam, and they will be able to attend to it. Wherever our intervention from Avadi is required, we will surely be able to pitch in to meet any of the requirement or to interact with any industry who wishes to understand certain technical details part of it in order to be able to be a probable product supplier to the Indian Armed Forces. Thank you.